What's up guys, welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
The situation was chaotic, and it didn't look good for my side. We were at our lowest point. Benimaru was worried about me, and I could sense it. I simply couldn't give in, though.
I am aware of your intentions. After all, recruiting Veldora would be a lot simpler if you could convince me to join. He wouldn't follow commands from superiors like you because, as you well know, he is a real free spirit.
He prefers to listen to me now, although he still gets angry easily. I don't know, perhaps he finds it difficult to deal with me or something. Anyhow, I suppose it explains Rudra's intense desire for me. After giving it some thought, I made the choice to refuse the invitation. I then tried to come up with a different plan, but I was told,
I am not interested in negotiating. Just say yes or no for me.
I had to make a decision at this point. I would be forced into a fight that I had little chance of winning if I objected. But if I agreed, I'd be forcing myself into a conflict I didn't want. Instead of doing what I wanted, I would be doing what someone else wanted, and this could result in a variety of losses in the future.
You know, you claim that by coming together as one, we can make the world a better place, but can everyone live happily in such a world?
What?
What's the point of existing if your free will is taken away from you, whether war and hunger are eliminated or not? You're attempting to limit the potential of everyone in the world. Have you ever considered that?
Their potential? That is not necessary. If you give people freedom, they might use it to their detriment. I don't want it, and I don't think Guy does either. Therefore, it only makes sense that someone would need to oversee them to ensure that they stay on the right road.
To an extent, I comprehend that. In no way will I dispute it. However, are you going to be happy there?
In the grand scheme of things, I think what I'm really attempting to do is manage humanity. However, I continue to believe that you must respect the public's right to their own opinion. You'll deny them the chance to develop if you are overly protective. I genuinely don't think we need to manage them at every turn because they are stronger than we realize.
Happiness? What kind of foolish babble is that? Any necessary sacrifice must be made in order to achieve everlasting peace, regardless of cost. People who can't even comprehend it don't need to give you permission. After all, a little bit of patience is required for the impending great joy for all of us.
Although I could see his perspective, I was unable to concur. Rudra was making an effort to avert his gaze from the people that comprise a civilization. That didn't seem at all right to me.
I simply cannot accept that. I believe that what you're striving for will only increase everyone's suffering, and I can't tolerate that.
Then you'd be a fool to reject my hand, right?
No problem. Look, for what purpose are you even acting like a king here? Do you have a ton of toys to play with or do you just want to appear fancy?
What do you mean? Of course, it's for the people.
Oh, yeah, even though I prefer to believe that I became a demon lord for the benefit of my entire people, I still want more people to live happy lives. There will undoubtedly be sacrifices, but I'm making a lot of effort to limit them. I can't just be as ruthless about it as you are, can I?
I wish I could improve the world without making any sacrifices, but that isn't realistic. Consider the fact that many people gave their lives to make me a demon lord. Although I still believe they deserved it, I don't think the victims' families would be very persuaded by my justification. I don't regret what I did. That is the cross I shoulder, and Rudra has committed certain atrocities of his own that he shouldn't ignore. He heard what I said, and for a moment his eyes burned as he looked at me, but he quickly regained control of himself.
How young and innocent you are.
He murmured.
Rudra?
All right, Velgrynd. I just haven't been this passionate about anything in such a long time. Perhaps I've failed to convince you, but you appear far too talented for us to defeat.
You're establishing a nasty habit there, Rudra. Yuki over there experienced the same thing, didn't he? I'm puzzled by your recent strange hoarding behavior.
I wanted to yell, "Stop treating us like toys," but I restrained myself. It was time to be ready for fight because negotiations were no longer an option. My companions were all ready to go when I turned to look at them. I was pleased to see that they had been performing their duties throughout our talk. Here, we had to defeat Rudra. I decided what to do, so I started to speak. But
Unfortunately, we were unable to persuade Demon Lord Rimuru. You know, his pal is getting stronger than I anticipated. But because he won't listen to me, I decided to lightly discipline him. Why don't I use my whole arsenal for the first time in a while since parallel existence won't allow me to make enough of an impact?
Oh, even he isn't listening, right?
He never paid attention to anything I said. But that's exactly how he is.
I couldn't help but return my focus to Velgrynd. My thoughts were on Veldora. The storm dragon was unbeatable, so I didn't think it was possible to ever defeat it. but this monster was simply unimaginable. I now felt extremely worried because I had no idea what would happen next.
Oh, are you concerned for him? So I'd advise you to grab Ridra's hand while you still can. I won't have to continue tormenting my little brother after that.
Velgrynd activated a new screen. This featured a wounded, furious Veldora in dragon form.
How did you manage to tame that one? I've been meaning to ask you that.
What?
I said, how did you convince Veldora to pay attention to you?
Actually, I didn't.
Veldora and I are close friends. That's all.
Oh, so you're not going to tell me then? That's too bad.
Velgrynd sighed, clearly dissatisfied.
In that case, I'm sorry, but I can't be gentle with him. He even surpasses me in magicules, at least.
After that, Velgrynd vanished. This was simultaneously unexpected and upsetting. We were aware that Rudra's objective was to gain enough time to defeat and subdue Veldora. I agreed to that because we were also buying time for ourselves. Velgrynd's parallel existence is practically invincible, but it has one disadvantage: it depletes energy quickly. Each body can be destroyed separately, which will also deplete the magicules distributed among them. You can weaken her overall if you continue because those can't be regained right away. The fewer magicules she has at her disposal, the less frequently she can utilize her most powerful moves. I believed Veldora had an advantage because of this. However, as I watched the screen, I saw that even one of Velgrynd's parallel existences was a little bit too much for Veldora to completely overcome. Veldora was in fact becoming agitated, and I could sense it through our soul corridor. I observed the Velgrynd that was involved with Testarosa's group vanish on the screen that was suspended in midair. The three demonesses tried their hardest to buy us some time but in vain. Not good, I reasoned. Velgrynd's power was even more than I had expected. So they knew what we were up to, but chose to mock us instead?
I assume you're curious. You'll get another chance after this fight is ended. After realizing your mistake, perhaps you'll change your mind.
Rudra's voice sounded distant to me. It was terrible, but I couldn't do anything about it. I should have tried to defeat Rudra there now that Velgrynd was gone, but for some reason, I had a nasty feeling it wasn't going to work out. So I made the decision to watch Veldora battle. A red dragon screamed in the second screen Velgrynd had left for us. The fight between two true dragons was the match of the century, and it was about to grow much more brutal.
Volume 14 Epilogue, Rage, Part 1.
It looked like a big kaiju battle, and that was the only way to explain it. Actually, no. There is no other way to put it. Despite having differing shapes, the two dragons who were engaged in combat were both enormous. In her original form, Velgrynd the Flame Dragon was a very elegant and lovely figure. She had a body that appeared to have been rather well adapted for flight and was more flexible than Veldora. What strategy would she employ in the battle? Even though it was late at night, the sky was bright. The Jura forest was on fire, coloring the sky a vivid red. While the city of Rimuru was secure and uninjured inside the labyrinth, it would have burned to the ground and vanished if we had left it outside. The enormous gate that led from the labyrinth to the outside world served as evidence of that. The labyrinth was now completely wrecked, and I was confident that the higher floors had also suffered serious harm. Now there was no progress in the battle. Velgrynd shut off her parallel existences for that reason. Given the extent of the forest's destruction, it seemed difficult to believe, but they were both doing a fantastic job of managing their power. Even though we're talking about enormous amounts of energy clashing, the battle was being fought at a very high degree of sophistication. Their speeds were comparable as well. Veldora had actually developed remarkably. He was flying at extremely high speeds thanks to his adept use of power, and he wasn't falling behind Velgrynd by even a fraction of a second. He must have been working out covertly because his progress was evident. I could see that Veldora had the slightest advantage. Veldora has more magicules if you were to just compare their power. It had increased since the time he was sealed, and he had padded it with his own new abilities and tactics to produce these results. I still couldn't get rid of my uneasiness. After all, Velgrynd had a certain advantage in her ability to control her power, and now that she was solely focused on Veldora, the fight had only just begun. And I must admit, Rudra's carefree demeanor alarmed me. How could he maintain this level of composure when Velgrynd, one of his strongest shields, was no longer present? Being able to contact Veldora at any time served as a type of safety net for me. No matter what kind of situation I was facing, I felt confident that with a little help from him, I could overcome it. I have no doubt that Rudra is a skilled fighter. Guy regarded him as an equal, and the ease with which he gained control of Yuki demonstrated just how dangerous he was. But I also possess an ultimate skill. Additionally, I have a small gimmick that allows me to grant people skills at my discretion, much like I did with Benimaru. If I'm being completely honest, I didn't really consider the top-ranking Imperial Guardian surrounding us to be a threat. Only Yuki and the 5 single digits were a cause for concern, especially that Damrata guy over there. But I don't believe he is unbeatable. I believe we would have prevailed in a combat over here, even without including Laplace. That was my opinion, but it also explains why I was so concerned. Why does Rudra not even seem worried? This was the question. Does he believe that, even without Velgrynd, he has an unbeatable power advantage? Still, he doesn't gain anything by taking unwarranted chances. Why is he so self-assured? I didn't know, but I was also interested in Veldora's battle. A blazing heat attack from Velgrynd was repelled by Veldora thanks to a barrier. Then, in retaliation, he unleashed a roaring wind strike, but it was avoided. It was a fierce fight, and I trembled at how fantastical it seemed. It's beyond anything I could have imagined to witness Veldora fight in real life for the first time. Even after Velgrynd defeated Testarossa and her companions, I never imagined that he would be an equal match for her. However, if you give it some thought, perhaps it is simply normal. Because Veldora had achieved his own unique ultimate skill, Faust, Lord of Investigation, he was maintaining it even with Velgrynd. The advantage in skill belonged to his opponent, but Faust rendered it irrelevant. His power, as Raphael told me, is the manipulation of probabilities. He also possessed the top-level analysis skill Investigate Truth. With that, he can assess all of his adversary's skills right away and take necessary action. It is so well tailored for fighting that I'm not even sure why it is necessary. Honestly, I was wondering if anyone could beat Veldora after learning Faust. I never doubted his triumph because of this. He was already attacking Velgrynd invisibly at this point. It appeared as though Velgrynd was abruptly struck by something out of the blue because I couldn't see it on the screen. I was aware, though. He named this move Stormblast, one of the unique moves he developed. I had heard him talk about it all the time, but after seeing it in action, I was convinced. At first glance, it just appears to be a collection of meaningless energy waves that just so happen to collide at a specific point, but by the time the effect manifests, it is already too late. That point is impossible to dodge or counter since you've already been struck. This thing he created is just completely insane. It's a lethal attack if you don't know what's coming because each wave does nothing on its own and is therefore easily missed. Velgrynd also took a direct hit from Stormblast. It gave me relief to see Veldora act as I had hoped.
Hey, anime fans! Episode 2 of Solo Leveling is now live on Anime Fan Narrations. Check it out in the link below and join the adventure. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more updates.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. Shout out to the new members of AnimeKouhai supporters: Byakuya327, Ankit Kumar, Efrain Hernandez, Luca Gaming WTF, William Locke, Jordan Mersha, Jay Magsino, Recrol17, Bismarck Munoz, Arian Booker. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.